Hey everybody, another physics content video coming your way. But before we do, I have a special safety announcement from my good friend Dr. Physics, or as I like to call him, Doc Phys. Doc Phys, take it away. Thank you very much, Mr. Lindley. Now, electricity, boys and girls, it's not something to be toyed around with. It is very, very dangerous. Okay, it's the type of thing that we will take great care to not mess around with. Things like this, outlets or plugs, we want to make sure that we're extremely careful, because if we were to just accidentally touch one of these, something terrible could happen. Doc Phys, are you okay? Doc, are you okay? Doc, can you hear me? Let me try to get him back. I definitely should not have touched that. Doc, your hair. What do you? I guess you could say this hairdo is electrifying. Looks like my hair is all charged up. Good to see you're still in good spirits. Now, kids, let's be careful when we deal with electricity, right? Let's not be like Doc Phys. Now, let's head to talk about some of those words, like in Homework 1003. The two main things we'll be discussing are current and voltage, and they're very, very different terms, but they're kind of used a little bit interchangeably here or there. I really am a huge fan of the definitions that are actually on this sheet, which is why I pulled it up. So first it says the rate at which charge flows, the amount of charge that passes a specific point, that is current. So current, we're looking at how much charge, and for us, the charged particle that moves, you guessed it, electrons. So we're saying, basically, what's the rate of flow of electrons? So if you saw 3 electrons in a second, it'd be 3 electrons per second. If you saw 8 electrons in 2 seconds, it'd be 8 to 4 electrons per second. That's what we're looking at. Voltage, if we look here, it says the amount of energy stored in a specific amount of charge. So with voltage, we're thinking about the amount of energy that's actually in those electrons, as opposed to how many of them there are. Now, if we think about these two things, they both could be very, very dangerous for us as humans, because if for me, right, you add electrons that are very energetic to my body, that might cause some issues, or if you had a lot of electrons. But realistically, the big harm to us as humans really is current, and we'll get more on that in another video. The rest of this worksheet is trying to get you to get the idea. Again, current is fundamentally about the amount of electrons per second that we have, the rate of them, and then voltage is correlating to the amount of energy that is possessed in them. Now, if we go to that other thing that I posted up to you, we need to talk about resistance. Resistance is about the charges trying to move from one location to another. So we're trying to say how much sort of resistance are they getting in there when they're trying to make that motion. Now, if we're trying to move in a conductor, there are a bunch of different things that would or could affect that motion, and one of them would be the length. So this lovely equation here, and you can see this great output from PhET. If they have to travel a larger distance, they would be more resisted, the electrons, in their motion in general. And I think this makes sense. If you think about if I have to run a mile versus running 10 miles, 10 miles is a lot more exhausting to me, a lot more resistance to me even wanting to do that. Now, the other things here, area. So if we think about area, right, as area goes up, we're actually seeing a decrease in the resistance, but this also makes sense. Wires, conductors in general that electrons are going to travel through are already made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. The electrons are going to be repelled by the electrons in that material, but they're going to be attracted by the protons in that material. So if they're having to move through the material, right, they're going to take crazy paths. They're not going to just be able to fly right through, because our wires are they're full of material. Now, if we're looking at this, when we make the material actually wider, increasing the cross-sectional area, we're giving basically more paths for the electrons to get through, so it's a lot easier on them. This last weird-looking P thing, that's actually Greek letter rho, R-H-O, and that tells us something called resistivity, and you can see if we sort of, whoa, Resistivity is basically a measure of how resistive it is to electron flow in general. So if we talk about like a high resistivity, that's not a great conductor. It's not letting electrons move through as easily. But if I have a very, very low resistivity, that's something that's a really, really good conductor. So when we're talking about resistance, we're thinking about the resistance as being to the electron flow or to the current. So again, let's just sort of let's take these concepts and let's just recap them real quick, right? We have voltage, which we're like thinking about as the amount of energy that's in our electrons. We're looking at current, which we're thinking about being the number of electrons per time or the rate at which the flow is. And then we're looking at resistance being how resistive is the material or the object that the electrons are traveling through to that flow. So how resistive are they to that flow? Hope this helped, and until next time.